Since I've been a child, I'm looking up into the sky thinking, is there more than just us human beings in this huge universe? And now I do believe there is more life forms, different life forms, and more dimensions than we can perceive.
I've had several sightings. Probably the closest sighting would have been back in 1974. I was driving back between Ottawa and Montreal, going towards Montreal. And I remember going on the highway, and we came within literally probably several hundred feet of a huge, huge ship. And at first, you know, we were driving away here, and I'm thinking, am I really seeing this? And we slowed down and sort of peeked out, and an enormous, enormous ship. I would have to say that it was two, three times the size of a 747. And it completely silently glided over across the highway, and we saw it go off into the distance. So there was no mistaking that that was not anything at that time that would have existed conventionally or militarily.
I was a lieutenant from the Bulgarian Air Force. My plane was MiG-21. What I believe there is much more going on than we can see with our naked eye.
Being in the 3rd Battalion, 7th Marine Regiment, we were pretty active. We were on the East Coast in an area called the Punch Bowl, which is just down the road from Heartbreak Ridge. We had a lull in the fighting, so we just sat around and played poker. And somebody looked up and said, "What the heck is that?" We all looked up, and there was, it looked for all the world like a chrome hubcap setting up above us. And if you looked at it, it kind of had a watery, shimmery look and a little bit bluish white periphery. And from time to time, it would appear to be elliptical and sometimes circular. So imagine it was rocking a little bit. And it's just a hint of a dome sometimes on it. But we watched it, and our colonel came out and took a look at it. He made a phone call. Pretty soon, 4 F-86D model Sabre jets came out, and they tried to get to the object. And it appeared that they hit some barrier that you couldn't see, because they would stall out and do a 1.5 turn spin and then pull out at the bottom. Flying saucer finally decided to leave and got very, very bright. And it was pretty difficult to look directly at it. But it rose straight up and it went through the overcast. Now, when it went through the overcast, there were 3 black rings that radiated from the flange of the craft and went from the flange of the craft all the way over the horizon with no sound at all. And what it looked like was somebody dropping a pebble in a glassy pool of water, and the rings are spreading out.
In January of 05, 5:24 in the evening, I was driving south on Interstate 25, south of Denver, and I see this black object coming up the road, above the road, in the sky. And I thought, that's curious, what is that? As I get closer, as we close, I see that it is a solid object. I thought it might have been Canadian geese for a start. I thought it might have been a piece of plastic blown up in the breeze like a kite. But I could see it was a solid object. It was not affected by a breeze in any way. It was flying on a straight course. It looked black. It may have been some color, but because it was silhouetted against the sky, it looked very dark. It looked like a plank. It looked like a board, an oblong shape. It was bizarre. It had a couple of little bumps on the leading edge on one end. I thought, well, if it's just junk, that would be random. Perhaps it certainly wouldn't be symmetrical. And I looked out the other side, and sure enough, it had the identical bumps on the other side of the leading edge. So it was an anomalous object. Could I identify it? Heck no, I couldn't relate to it. It had no sweep back, no anhedral, no dihedral, didn't have any external power plants, no wings or no tail empennage, flight control surfaces or probes.
A search of the term Fastwalkers on the internet immediately reveals references that Fastwalker is a code name used by various government agencies to refer to UFOs, or, as they are sometimes called, non-referenced targets.
Okay, that's holding pretty well. Craft that I recorded that did the 180-degree turn down on this portion of the screen, they're called Fastwalkers because of their speed. The whole episode took about a half a second to perform or less. They're talking milliseconds. And that kind of lets you know that it's not an Earth satellite that we're looking at because it's moving so fast. Plus the fact our satellites don't change direction 180 degrees without changing speed or 90 degrees. And I have seen many of the shadows go up and do a 90 degree right across the screen. And sometimes you'll see 3 or 4 objects in formation. It looks like formation flying, and one will branch off to the left and one will go to the right. Somebody coined the phrase fast walker, and it's appropriate.